Agent Sarah Chen stared at the classified document on her desk, her coffee growing cold as she read the same line for the third time. The fluorescent lights of the CIA's Langley headquarters buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the manila folder marked, Eyes Only, Operation Golden Boot. "You're telling me," she said slowly, looking up at her superior, Deputy Director Marcus Webb, "that Lionel Messi, the Lionel Messi, might be working for Captain Ibrahim Traore's regime in Burkina Faso?" Webb nodded grimly, his weathered face showing the strain of sleepless nights. "The evidence is circumstantial but compelling. We've been tracking unusual patterns in his travel schedule, encrypted communications originating from his properties, and most troubling, a series of coded messages embedded in his social media posts that match known Burkinabe intelligence protocols." Sarah flipped through the dossier, her trained eye catching details that would escape civilian notice. Photos of Messi at various locations, seemingly innocent tourist shots, but with subtle hand gestures and positioning that suggested more than casual photography. "How long have you suspected this?" she asked. "The first red flag came 18 months ago," Webb replied, settling into the chair across from her desk. "Our asset in Ouagadougou reported seeing someone matching Messi's description at a private compound outside the capital. Initially, we dismissed it, too absurd, too high-profile. But then the pattern emerged." Sarah studied a photograph showing Messi at what appeared to be a charity event in Argentina. In the background, barely visible, stood a man in a dark suit, later identified as Colonel Amadou Sankara, Traore's chief intelligence officer. "The charity work," she mused. "It's the perfect cover. Who questions a football legend's humanitarian efforts?" "Exactly," Webb said. "The Leo Messi Foundation has been funding projects across West Africa, including several in Burkina Faso. Official channels, legitimate paperwork, but also the perfect conduit for intelligence operations." 3 days later, Sarah found herself in a surveillance van parked outside the Rosario sports club in Argentina, Messi's childhood team. The irony wasn't lost on her, investigating a man who had brought joy to millions through his extraordinary talent on the pitch. Her partner, Agent Miguel Rodriguez, adjusted his headphones and pointed to the screen showing thermal imaging of the building. "Movement on the 3rd floor. 2 figures, one matching our target's height and build." Sarah's earpiece crackled to life. "Overwatch to ground team. We have positive identification. Subject is entering the building through the north entrance." Through her binoculars, Sarah watched as the world's most recognizable athlete walked casually through the doors, but something about his gait seemed different. More purposeful, more aware of his surroundings than typical for someone simply visiting his old club. "He's not alone," Rodriguez whispered. "Black sedan, diplomatic plates, just pulled up." Sarah's heart rate quickened as she recognized the man stepping out of the vehicle. It was Dr. François Bambara, officially listed as a cultural attaché at the Burkina Faso embassy in Buenos Aires, but known to intelligence agencies as a high-ranking operative in Traore's network. "This is it," she breathed. "We're about to witness a live intelligence exchange." The two men met briefly at the entrance, their greeting appearing casual to any observer. But Sarah's trained eye caught the subtle exchange, a handshake that lasted precisely 3 seconds, followed by Bambara's hand briefly touching his left lapel, a known signal in intelligence circles. Back at Langley, the team assembled in the secure briefing room, walls lined with monitors displaying everything from satellite imagery to financial records. The evidence was mounting, creating a picture of a double life that seemed impossible yet increasingly undeniable. "The pattern is clear," said Dr. Emily Watson, the agency's top behavioral analyst. "Messi's public appearances align with significant political events in Burkina Faso. When Traore consolidated power in September 2022, Messi was photographed at 3 different locations across Europe, always within 24 hours of major policy announcements from Ouagadougou." Sarah studied the timeline on the wall. The Champions League matches, the World Cup, every major football event provided perfect cover for intelligence activities. While the world watched him play, he was potentially coordinating with foreign operatives. Webb pulled up a financial analysis. The money trail is sophisticated. Payments to the Messi Foundation from shell companies with ties to Burkinabe mineral exports. On the surface, it looks like corporate sponsorship of humanitarian work. Dig deeper, and you find a network of accounts that could easily facilitate intelligence funding. Agent Rodriguez raised his hand. What about his family? His wife, his children, are they aware? That's the million-dollar question, Webb replied. Either they're the most convincing unwitting accomplices in intelligence history, or they're part of the most elaborate spy network ever constructed around a single individual. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The implications were staggering. If true, it meant that one of the most beloved figures in sports had been living a lie for years, potentially compromising the security of multiple nations while maintaining his public persona as a humble football genius. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Agent Lisa Park, a junior analyst in the cyber division, had been tasked with examining Messi's social media posts for hidden messages. What she found changed everything. "Look at this," she said, her excitement barely contained as she pulled up Instagram posts on the main screen. "I've been analyzing the timing and content of his posts over the past 2 years. At first, it seemed random, family photos, training videos, endorsements. But then I noticed something." The room fell silent as she overlaid the posts with a timeline of significant events in Burkina Faso. Every time there was a major development in Traore's government, policy changes, military movements, international negotiations, Messi would post within hours. But it's not just the timing. Look at the images themselves. She zoomed in on a photo of Messi with his children at a park. To casual observers, it was a heartwarming family moment. But Park had identified something else entirely. The positioning is deliberate. His son's soccer ball is placed at exactly 11 o'clock from the bench. His daughter's hair ribbon is blue, the same shade as the Burkinabe flag. And this tree in the background, it's been digitally enhanced to show exactly 17 leaves, matching the number of provinces in Burkina Faso. Sarah leaned forward, her pulse quickening. "You're saying he's been communicating through family photos?" "Not just communicating," Park replied. "Coordinating. Each post corresponds to specific intelligence requirements. When Traore needed information about European Union sanctions, Messi posted from Paris. When there were questions about mining rights, he was photographed near geological surveys in Argentina." The room erupted in quiet conversation as the implications sank in. Webb called for silence. "This changes everything," he said solemnly. "We're not just dealing with a potential spy. We're looking at one of the most sophisticated intelligence operations in modern history." The decision to confront Messi directly was controversial. Deputy Director Webb argued for continued surveillance, but Sarah pushed for immediate action. Time was running out. Intelligence suggested that Traore's regime was planning something significant, and Messi's role might be crucial. The meeting was arranged through intermediaries, disguised as a routine interview about his charitable work. Sarah posed as a journalist for a humanitarian magazine, while Rodriguez operated surveillance equipment from a nearby location. They met at a quiet cafe in Barcelona, far from the usual paparazzi haunts. Messi arrived precisely on time, his demeanor calm and professional, but Sarah noticed the subtle signs of someone accustomed to operational security, his choice of seating with clear sight lines to exits, his phone placed screen down on the table, the way his eyes periodically scanned the room. "Thank you for meeting with me," Sarah began, activating her hidden recording device. "I'm particularly interested in your foundation's work in West Africa." Messi's response was measured, professional. "We believe football can unite people across all boundaries. Our work in Burkina Faso has been especially rewarding, helping children who have faced significant challenges." Sarah watched his body language carefully. "You've visited the region several times. That's unusual for someone with your schedule." For just a moment, something flickered in Messi's eyes, a recognition that this conversation was more than it appeared. "I believe in seeing the impact of our work firsthand," he replied. These children deserve more than just financial support. They need to know that someone cares about their future. Sarah made her move. Captain Traore has been very supportive of your foundation's work. That's quite an endorsement from a military leader. The silence stretched between them. Messi's expression didn't change, but Sarah could see his mind calculating, assessing the situation. I work with many government officials, he said finally. Politics is not my concern. My focus is on helping children through football. But Sarah had seen enough. The micro-expressions, the careful word choices, the way he'd positioned himself in the chair, everything confirmed what the evidence had suggested. The man across from her was not just a football legend. He was a professional intelligence operative. The confrontation with Messi had been inconclusive, but it set in motion a chain of events that would ultimately reveal the truth. Within 48 hours, the agency's surveillance detected unusual activity around Messi's properties in Argentina, Spain, and France. He's accelerating his timeline, Webb announced to the assembled team. Whatever operation he's been building toward, our conversation spooked him into action. Sarah studied the latest intelligence reports. The pattern is changing. Instead of subtle social media posts, we're seeing direct communications. Encrypted messages, but our quantum computers are breaking them in real time. The decrypted messages painted a picture that was both more complex and more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Messi wasn't just a spy, he was a coordinator, managing a network of operatives across multiple continents. The football world had provided perfect cover, allowing him to travel freely, meet with diverse contacts, and maintain communications under the guise of sports business. The genius of it, Dr. Watson observed, is that his celebrity status made him invisible. Who would suspect the world's most watched athlete of running intelligence operations? Agent Park had been working around the clock, following digital breadcrumbs through layers of encryption. I've identified at least 12 other individuals in his network. Players, coaches, club officials, all positioned to gather intelligence on everything from political developments to military movements across Europe and South America. Sarah felt the weight of the revelation. So when he was playing in the World Cup, leading Argentina to victory, he was simultaneously coordinating intelligence operations across multiple nations, Webb finished. The ultimate multitasker. As the full scope of the operation became clear, Sarah found herself grappling with questions that went beyond intelligence work. How does someone become one of the greatest athletes in history while simultaneously running a spy network? What kind of person could maintain such a perfect public facade while living such a dangerous double life? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Bambara, the Burkina Faso attaché they'd been tracking, had been arrested in Buenos Aires on unrelated charges. Facing deportation, he offered to trade information about Messi's operation for asylum. The recruitment happened early, he revealed during his debriefing. Messi was 16 when Traore's predecessor first approached him. Not for spying, for cultural exchange. Africa was beginning to recognize football's diplomatic potential. Sarah listened intently as the pieces fell into place. He was a natural, Bambara continued. Intelligent, disciplined, completely focused on his goals. When Traore came to power, he saw an opportunity. Why waste such talent on simple cultural diplomacy when you could create something unprecedented? The true scope of the operation was breathtaking. Messi's rise to football superstardom had been genuine, his skills were undeniable, his achievements real. But alongside his athletic development, he'd been trained in intelligence work, communication protocols, and operational security. His football career wasn't cover for his spy work, Webb realized. His spy work was enhancement for his football career. The discipline, the strategic thinking, the ability to perform under pressure, it all reinforced his athletic abilities. Sarah shook her head in amazement. He became the greatest player in history while simultaneously becoming one of the most effective intelligence operatives of the modern era. The endgame came not through arrest or confrontation, but through a series of events that revealed the ultimate truth about Messi's double life. Intelligence intercepts suggested that Traore was planning to publicly reveal the operation, using Messi's celebrity status to embarrass Western intelligence agencies and demonstrate Burkina Faso's sophistication. But as Sarah and her team prepared for crisis management, they discovered something that changed everything. The final encrypted message in Messi's communication network wasn't to his handlers in Ouagadougou, it was to CIA headquarters in Langley. "He's been working for us all along," Webb announced to the stunned briefing room. Operation Golden Boot wasn't about catching a spy. It was about protecting one of our most valuable assets. The revelation hit Sarah like a physical blow. Everything they'd investigated, every piece of evidence they'd gathered, had been carefully orchestrated to create a believable cover story for Messi's real work. Feeding intelligence about African political developments to Western agencies while maintaining his value as a Burkinabe asset. "The double agent to end all double agents," she whispered. Agent Rodriguez looked confused. But the evidence, the meetings, the communications, the money transfers, it all checked out. "Because it was all real," Webb explained. "Messi has been genuinely working for Traore's regime. But he's also been sharing everything with us. The perfect intelligence operation, everyone gets what they want, and no one realizes they're being played." Sarah's mind raced through the implications. So when he won the World Cup, when he was celebrating with his teammates, embracing his family, he was simultaneously concluding one of the most successful intelligence operations in CIA history, Webb finished. The man who brought joy to millions through his football genius was also protecting global security through his intelligence work. 6 months later, Sarah Chen sat in a different cafe, this time in Miami, watching as Lionel Messi prepared for another match with Inter Miami. The crowds cheered his every touch, children wore his jersey, and commentators praised his continued excellence despite his advanced age. None of them knew they were watching not just a football legend, but one of the most successful intelligence operatives of the modern era. The man who had redefined what was possible on the football pitch had simultaneously redefined what was possible in the world of international espionage. Her phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "The beautiful game continues. LM." Sarah smiled, deleted the message, and watched as Messi scored another impossible goal, his celebration as genuine as ever. Some secrets, she reflected, were meant to stay hidden. And some heroes operated in shadows while performing miracles in the light. The crowd roared its approval, unaware that they were witnessing not just athletic greatness, but the perfect fusion of public brilliance and private service. In the end, that might be the most remarkable achievement of all, becoming a legend while remaining a mystery, saving the world while entertaining it. As Messi ran toward the corner flag, arms raised in triumph, Sarah couldn't help but wonder what other impossible things were hiding in plain sight, what other beautiful games were being played on stages the world would never see. The match continued, and somewhere in Burkina Faso, a message was being decoded. Somewhere in Langley, analysts were updating their assessments. And somewhere between the penalty area and the center circle, the greatest footballer who ever lived was still keeping the world's most important secrets.